What is up, YouTube? This is Chris, the Unprofessional Dad, and I'm back with another knife video. And in this one, I'm not going to be talking about knives so much. Actually, I'm going to be talking about knives, but I'm going to be talking about sharpening and maintaining an edge on your knives. I've recently got a request to do a video like this and some comments, and I promised that person. I'm so sorry. I can't remember which person commented that. I should have wrote it down. You deserve better than that, guys. From now on, I'm going to give shout outs to people like that. And whoever that is in the comments, I apologize. Like I said, you deserve better than that, and I apologize. I will be better than that from now on. When somebody suggests something that I take, and run with it, I'm going to give you credit, guys. So I apologize. Whoever it is, I'll make sure that I make it up to you in the next video, and I'll give you a shout out. But I was asked to do a video on sharpening knives, and I already wanted to do a video on this topic, and since I was asked, it's a great time to do it. Two things really quick before I get started. I need to apologize in advance. One, I don't know if you noticed, but I've got a light issue here. It keeps messing with me a little bit, so it's going in and out. So if it goes darker and lighter, I apologize. That's my light setup. Two, like all of you all know, I'm the unprofessional dad, and I've got 6 kids, and I raise 4 of them full time. Well, my kids are out for the Thanksgiving break, so they got to stay up a little bit later. One of them is the young one over here, the one that you all usually hear me talk to and deal with Mickey Mouse and the headphones over on the side. Well, he's actually over here watching it tonight, and he's in a great mood because he's been sick for a couple days. So tonight he's really talkative and really going, and I do have the headset on him, and he's watching Mickey Mouse, but I might have to interact with him a little bit. So I apologize if I do, but I know you guys from your comments are really cool people. You all understand. You're great, and I appreciate your patience with me while I deal with that. I am a dad first, and knives come second. All right. Before I get into this, I want to remind everybody about my huge contest going on right now. January the 3rd of 2025, which is just around the corner. I mean, we're just over a month away, guys. On that day, I'm going to be giving away a $200 budget to Blade HQ to the winner. And that person gets to go into Blade HQ and spend $200 however their heart desires. If they want a fixed blade, if they want a folder, if they want a Spyderco, if they want a couple knives, I don't care. It's their budget to spend however they want. That's going to be on me as a way of saying thank you to everybody who's tuned in to watch. I keep saying tuned in like it's a TV show from the 70s. Everybody that's clicked on my videos, who's watched my videos, who's checked out what I had to say, and I appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you guys so much. The way that you enter is you have to be subscribed to my channel. You have to like one of my videos, any one of them, I do not care, and you have to leave a comment. Now, most of you all are already subscribed. Most of you all, well, the people who are going to be in this, you all are subscribed already. You've already left comments and stuff like that, but I got new people coming in all the time. So if you're a new person, welcome. I appreciate you being here big time. All you have to do, like a video, comment, and subscribe. Even if you don't come back and watch any more videos. It's a great way to put your name in a hat that you might get a $200 budget to Blade HQ on me. So it's worth a few seconds of your time. Now, I'm not trying to buy subscriptions or anything like that. That's the last thing I care about. I just want to say thank you guys and show you my appreciation. But if you do want to subscribe, it does help me out. It pushes me in the algorithms. I've already started to realize how the algorithms work, and my videos start to get out to more people. So I greatly appreciate it, guys. Now, having said that, we've done our housekeeping. We've done our chores and we've got it out of the way. Now we can actually get to this. Really quick, guys, let me just mess with this light right here. I want to make sure that this thing has the best lighting possible, and this daggone light is a pain. All right, there we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, just like I went through with my knife steels for beginners, I don't just want to show you me sharpening a knife, because here's the reason why. In the past, I'm going to be honest, it took me a long time to learn how to sharpen knives. Sharpening knives is not easy, even if it looks easy. I would watch older gentlemen and people that I knew, or watch it on TV, watch YouTube videos, and people would just sharpen knives, and it'd be like, all right, this is what you do. You lay the knife this way, you run back and forth, blah, 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 blah. This is how you do it. And I would try to do it as well. And I wouldn't get the results that I wanted. I could never get that edge razor sharp. I would watch them just be like razor hair popping sharp. I'm like, I'm doing the same exact thing you're doing. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing different? I don't know. Just do it this way. I am doing it this way. What am I doing wrong? You got to practice, guys. You got to understand bevels and angles and different things like that. So I'm going to try to break this down to a very elementary level so that we can, now most of you all already know how to sharpen knives. If you do, great, just hang out with us while we're talking and chat, and you know, that way you can leave comments if there's something I'm missing or something that you can add, you know, to expand the conversation. I would greatly appreciate it. This is for people who are new to sharpening, who don't understand sharpening, who are struggling with sharpening. I want to explain a few things, and I want to break it down. The very first thing, though, that I want to do before I teach you to sharpen an edge, I want to teach you to hone an edge. Now, the reason I want to teach you to hone an edge is this. Most of the time when you get a knife and it's new, that knife is already going to have an edge from the factory. Most of the time, they're pretty decent edges. Sometimes they won't be razor sharp and you need to tinker with them a little bit. But for the most part, they're pretty sharp. Kitchen knives are the same exact way. When you get them, they are already sharp. Now, if you ever watch like butchers or chefs, they're always taking their knives and they're honing their edges. Like this right here is a honing rod. You get these with, like if you go to a Target or Walmart or Ace Hardware and you get a knife set, even if it's a $40 or $50 knife set, a kitchen knife set, you're usually going to get one of these honing rods with it. Now the honing rods are awesome for a reason. There's a difference between sharpening an edge and honing an edge. And when you understand that difference, and then you understand the value of honing your edge and maintaining your edge, it's going to make things way easier. Now, honing is where you're, all right, before I do, I want to show you something really quick. I was going to do this with my hands and do like little TPs and triangles and stuff like that, but it's just easier to draw it on the board. Okay, when you get your edge, when you get your knife, your edge is like this. I'm sorry, it's at a point. All right, now you have this razor sharp edge, and that top right there is the cutting edge. As you start using your knife, as you start cutting stuff, like let's say it's a kitchen knife. I've got one right here, so we're going to use a kitchen knife as an example. Let's say you start cutting steaks, you start cutting chickens and preparing roast and different things like that. You start cutting vegetables and different things that you're making your meals over time. What will happen is that edge is still sharp. But what's going to happen is this sharp edge right here is going to start, it's going to start curling over. It's going to start laying down. It's going to lay over. It's going to bend. Now it's still sharp, but you're pushing, because it's so thin, it's easy to push it over, to bend that edge over. Now at this point, you don't have to sharpen your knife. You just have to find a way of taking that and standing it back up like this. It's real simple. That's what's called maintaining an edge, honing an edge. And I'll come back to that board in a second. As that edge starts to lay over, remember, it's still sharp, but because it's so thin, it's easy to push it one side or the other. That's when you start snagging on stuff. You can take your fingernail and run it up the edge and you can feel it catching your fingernail and stuff like that. Okay, so that's where this comes in handy. This is a honing rod. That's why chefs and butchers use these all the time. They take it at an angle and they run it down this rod. They're going to do it at both sides at an angle. Don't do it flat on there like this. That does nothing. You want to do it at the angle of your edge. Now here's the thing. Most kitchen knives are at around a 25-degree angle. 23, 25, 27. It's in there, in that ballpark. Now there's give and take. There's exceptions to every rule, but that's about the average. Most sharpeners that you get, they're going to have a very broad example. They're going to say kitchen knives sharpen at a 20-degree edge. Pocket knives, things like this, they're going to be at around a 20-degree edge, 17 to 20-degree edge. So there's a difference. So you want to realize what degree you're at, and you don't have to be a mathematician to know this. You just put it on there and you tilt it up a little bit until you feel that bevel start to catch. Then you run it back and forth. What you're doing is you're taking that really sharp edge that's starting to bend over, and you're just standing it back up. You're just literally pushing it right back up. That's all you're doing. You're pushing it back up. Remember, it's still sharp. Now here's what happens though. When you start using an edge and you take that point and you start bending it over, even though it's still sharp, now what happens when you start using that knife is it's not slicing through things as easy anymore. It's not cutting through it like a razor. Now you got to put more force into it. Now you got to push and you got to pull, and you notice and you think your knife is starting to get dull, and it's not. It's just the edge is starting to lay over. But because you're starting to put more into it, what's happening is you are wearing that edge out, and you're pushing it over even farther, and you're starting to break that edge off, and that is going to dull your knives. Then you're into a whole nother ball game. Then you're into the area of sharpening. And sharpening a knife is removing metal. You have to sharpen a knife eventually. Everybody does. But sharpening a knife is going to remove your edge. It's going to remove metal. It's going to do that. It's going to remove the metal. And I'll get to that in a second. I'll show you exactly what you're doing and what I mean by removing metal. And it's going to wear your blade out, and it's going to make your blade, wither away over time. And you'll see people that have knives that are really old that's been sharpened a whole bunch, and they're beat up and the blade's not as wide as it used to be and stuff. I'm going to show you what happens and why that is right now in a second. But remember, honing an edge, and if you do this, do it before you cut. Do it after you cut. Now here, don't ever use these things and put them in a dishwasher. I don't care if they are dishwasher safe. You never, ever, ever dishwash your knives. That is going to beat the heck out of your edge. Your edges are thin. Now the blade is not, the edges are. It's going to beat up your edges. It's going to wear them out. It's not good on them at all. It puts too much on your edge, and it will wear them out in time. Not to mention the corrosion and stuff that can happen on them. Use them the same way I talked about in knife steel for beginners. Use that. Gently wash them with a non-abrasive detergent, and pat them dry and dry them. That's how you want to wash your knives. You don't want to dishwasher your knives or put them in a dishwasher. But if you hone your edge before and after, I want to be honest really quick. I forgot to say this. Just disclaimer, my edges are sharp. I tried to find the dullest knife that I could to make this as authentic as I can. I wanted to find a knife that wasn't going to cut through paper really well and show you how it rips and tears instead of slicing. I'm sorry guys, I just take care of my edges, and I literally had to find this is a Henckels, J.M. Henckels, and Henckels is a good brand, but this is a really old butcher knife that was in a drawer over there, and I had to dig for it, and I found it. I was trying to find the dullest one that I could, because I wanted to show you all before and after the process of what it does. But my knives are sharp. I'm just being honest. I don't want to play smoke and mirrors with you all. I want to be honest with you guys. It's the only way to be. So these are already sharp, and all I'm going to do is make them more sharp as I go. So it kind of isn't a fair and authentic representation of the before and after. But it is what it is. You get what I'm saying. All right, so honing an edge is real simple. Running this over that rod 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times on each side. Now, some of them do this right here. They'll just slide back and forth on that rod. Because I'm left-handed, it's easier for me to do this right here. I go this way, and then I flip it over, and I go that way. I'm still getting both sides. Now here's the thing about sharpening a blade. Do not go one direction on one side, then flip the knife over and go the other direction on the other side. You're literally causing friction and you're defeating your purpose. You're laying metal in one direction. Every time that you hone your rod, or you hone your knife, you always want to go in the same direction, because what you're doing is you're laying metal down. You're pushing metal in a certain direction. You're laying it in an area, in a direction, in the way that you want it to go, and you want it to go towards that point. Now, if you go and lay it, or move one way on the knife and then you go the other way, like you're going northbound and southbound, if you're doing that, you're literally going to be pushing the knife, then pushing the knife back this way, pushing the knife, and then pushing the knife back this. I know my hands are horrible. I'm not doing a good representation, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Always make sure that you're going in the same direction on both sides of the edge. Otherwise, you're defeating your purpose and you're making your job way harder, and you're not going to get very far. If you hone your edges, then it will go a longer period of time before you have to sharpen. Because remember, sharpening is removing metal. That is a process that you're always going to eventually have to do. But if you hone your edges, it will be longer before it happens. And I apologize. Hopefully you guys do hear him in the background. He's over there talking to Mickey Mouse. I apologize, guys. It is what it is. The joys of being a dad. But now here's another thing. I talked to you guys in another video about this thing right here, the Work Sharp Field Sharpener. It's the greatest sharpener I've ever found. I've got the Work Sharp belt sharpeners. I've got, stones. I've got rods. I've got so many sharpeners over there. This is the greatest one I've ever found. This thing is amazing. It's simple. It's easy. But I digress. If you haven't got one of these, go out and get one. They're about 40 bucks or something, and they're awesome. If you have knives and you like sharpening them and taking care of them, this thing is amazing. But the reason I bring this up is because this has a ceramic rod that you can flip in 3 different positions. That is for fish hooks, for serrated blades, different things like that. It's also got a little one right here for serrated blades. But if you don't have a honing rod, this ceramic rod is the same exact concept. It is going to hone your edge. You run it back and forth 5 to 8 times, however many times you want on one side, then go the other, and you're going to do the same exact thing. So what you're doing is you're laying that metal and you're standing that point back up to a point. That's what you're doing. You're taking that edge that bent over, and every time you swipe across that with that honing rod, you're pushing it right back up to a point. If it's laid this way, every time you push it up, you're pushing it back up to a point. Now remember, it's already sharp at this point. You've not worn that edge out, you've just laid the edge over. That's why honing and maintaining your edge is so important. Now, if you do that, again, it's going to make your edge last longer. The next step that you want to do, and you want to do this, now if you're cooking and stuff and you're in the process, it's hard to do this. But one thing that you always want to do is strop your edge after you hone it or after you sharpen it. You always want to strop your edge, and that is with a leather belt. I mean, you can do it with anything. You could even do it with blue jeans if you want, but leather is the thing that works best. You want something that's firm but soft, not firm but hard, because it's like an abrasive, you're rubbing against it, but firm but soft like leather. Leather is going to give it that resistance, but also be soft. And what it's going to do is I'll give you an analogy. When you put a car and you put wax on it, all right, then you take a rag and you rub the wax off. But the next step, after you rub all the wax off, you get it all off there, then you've got to buff it. You buff that shine in. That's the last step. It's buffing. You're going to buff that car and make it polished and make it shine. Stropping is like the final step. It's like the buffing of your edge. You've stropped it, or you've honed it, or you've sharpened it and then honed it, and now stropping. Stropping is the buffing of your edge. You're finishing it off and you're getting it just perfect and smooth. You got to remember, on a microscopic level, when you look at an edge, you can't see it with your bare eyes, But if you look at it through a microscope or a microscopic level, even though it doesn't look like it, what you're going to see is a whole bunch of jagged edges, and a whole bunch of tears in the metal and stuff. That's why powdered metals and different metals like that are better and more expensive. Here's the little man with his headset on, Zachary. All right, go over and watch Mickey Mouse, buddy. Be careful. Be careful. Go watch Mickey Mouse. Superstar right there. All right, so all those jagged edges, when you are pushing that metal in a certain way and you're stropping it or sharpening it, you're trying to get those jagged edges as consistent across the edge and as flat of an edge as you can, but they're always going to be jagged edges. Powdered metals and stuff are better because the grain structure of that metal actually has less jagged edges along the edge. I know that that's neither here nor there and that's too in-depth and stuff, but what you're doing when you're stropping is you're trying to finish off those jagged edges and get them all in one straight line, like buffing it out. Now the way that you're going to strop it is you don't go the same way that you did with the honing rod. This you're going to go backwards on the blade. Backwards, because you're laying that edge down. You're laying it down and smoothing it out. You've already honed it. Now you're going to lay it down real smooth. So I'm going to start right here with this at the same angle that I already did, and I'm going to go backwards on that edge. And that's all you do. You're going to do that 4 to 5 times, just like you did with the honing rod. And you're going to just lay that edge down. Then you're going to go to the other side and do the same exact thing. That is literally going to make that edge razor sharp. Have you ever noticed that you sharpen a knife? You do everything you can and you got it sharp, but for some reason it's still catching on paper, or it's not that razor sharp, and you put all that work into it. I wonder, are you stropping it? Are you doing that final step of stropping your edge? Because if not, that's why. You're still catching not on the paper and stuff because you haven't polished that edge and given it that last step of that strop, which that's what you need to make it a razor. So remember, hone your edge and then strop your edge, and you are going to keep a sharper edge for a longer time. Now, let's get past that. We haven't maintained our edge. We didn't realize that we needed to do that. So that edge went like this. And then we kept using it more and more, and we kept bending it over more and more. And then you start wearing it out and you start taking metal off that edge and you start dulling that knife down. What happens is, I want to show you something. It's like a mountain almost. Sorry guys, my light's here. All right, so this is what's going to happen to your edge eventually. It's no longer going to look like this point right here. Now it's going to look like a heel. That's what your edge is going to look like. That's a dull edge. You've not had that point anymore. You let it lay over and you kept cutting and pushing and pushing and pushing and rubbing metal away and rubbing metal away. Now you've got that. Now you've got to take metal away. The way that you do that is you're going to use something, an abrasive. And abrasives is the measure of coarseness in a material, like in this, that has different coarse levels. And coarseness is just the abrasives and coarseness that it's got in it, how rough it is and how much like sandpaper. The more coarse it is, the lower that number is. The more fine it is, like fine sand, the higher the number is. But what you're going to do is you're going to take something really coarse and you're going to try to cut part of this metal off. And all this right here is going to be taken away. So you just literally took a lot of the metal off your knife away. And then what's going to happen, eventually this is going to get worn down, and then you're going to take some of that metal away. And then it's going to get worn down to a heel, and you're going to take some of that metal away. And every time you are literally shortening your blade. You're wearing your metal out. you're losing your edge. I hope you guys can see that from here. And if you can, I apologize. I hope I'm at least doing a good enough job explaining this. But that's what's happening. Every time you lose an edge and you have to sharpen it, you're taking metal away from your blade. You're destroying the integrity of your blade. You're giving it a shorter lifespan. You're costing yourself money. You're throwing money away. The importance of honing your edge cannot be overstated. Hone your edge. Maintain your edge. If you do that, this right here is going to happen less. This is going to happen eventually. No doubt. It's always going to have to happen. Eventually, it just does. You're going to wear it out, and it's going to have to happen. But how often that happens is up to you and how much time and effort you put into maintaining your edge. Now, let's say that it is time to sharpen an edge. How do we do that? How do we do that? The first thing that you have to do is you have to understand how dull your knife is. Are you dealing with the kitchen knife? Are you dealing with the fixed blade? Are you dealing with the pocket knife? What are you dealing with? How dull is it? According to how dull it is, and also what type of knife you're using, is the level of coarseness that you're going to have to measure and determine what you're going to use. Like, for instance, this right here is a pocket sharpener. It's almost like a butterfly knife here. All right. It is a pocket sharpener. It's not even an expensive one. It's like $10. And this is a diamond infused or whatever edges on both sides. All right, they're like diamond plates. One side has 400 aggressive, 400 grit. The other side is 600. All right, this one, I don't even know what the grit is on one side and what the other one is. The other side is. One side is really, really smooth. One side is really abrasive. If your knife is really dull, you're going to have to start with the abrasive, the more abrasive side first. Now, kitchen knives and stuff are usually, 400 to 600. You're going to start with them, then go up to, 800 to 1,000 and on and up, depending on what type of knife you have and the quality of steel that you have to get that really razor's edge. But this right here is 400 and 600. And I can do anything with the 400 and 600 as long as I strop it afterwards. You'll be just fine with this. You don't have to have nothing special. You don't have to have those super high grits. Those are just for people who really want to go that extra mile and have the best, most honed, fine razor's edge possible. But if you just want a sharp knife that's going to cut paper, you can do it with any of these sharpeners. Any of them right out of the box will do the job. And the way that you sharpen them is the same exact way that you do it with the honing rod. You're going to start with the more coarse side first, so the lower the number. You're going to start with the lower number first. This is the 400 side. Now, remember, you do not put that knife straight down on this, because then all you're doing is rubbing the side of your blade against basically sandpaper. All that's going to do is scratch up your blade. All you're wanting to touch is the bevel, the edge, the peaks, the sides of the peaks. That's all you're wanting to do. You're wanting to rub that across that side right there. Not along the side of the blade, but a side of the edge. That's all you want. And I keep using my hands, and I'm horrible at this, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do the best I can without jerking that daggone board out all the time. All right? But all you're going to do is take this the same exact way and put it at an angle. Depending on what it is, the higher up it is. That's too high. That's too low. Right about there is where you need to be. Hopefully you guys can see that. Right about there. Not all the way down, not all the way up, but right about right there. That's where you need to be. That's about a 25-degree edge. All right? And all you're going to do is you're going to start back here by the hilt of the blade all the way up to your edge. Now here, let me give you a little word of advice. I have seen many people do this, and this is a horrible mistake, and you will learn this lesson if you're not careful. What people will do is when they pull this knife back here, when they get to that edge, they'll raise that edge up. Don't do that. I'm going to tell you why. Keep it even the whole way through. Do not raise that edge up like this. As you come, what you're going to do is as you do that, you're going to ground that tip down. You're going to start pushing on that tip, and you're going to ground the tip of your knife right away. You want to have that edge right there is the same as that edge back here. There's no difference. Just because the knife is more narrow up here than it is back here, the edge is the same. The cutting edge is the same all the way across. So do not, when you get, I know it's hard, don't raise your arm up when you get to that point, because you're just going to grind that tip right away. I made that mistake, and I've watched other people do it too. And you will, one of the hardest things to do is to get that edge. A lot of times you can get that edge sharp right in through here, but getting it up here around the tip, getting it right back here, sometimes that's the hardest place, is to really get that razor's edge sharp because of the way that we're moving our arm. You really have to train yourself, and practice makes perfect. Doing it over and over and keeping that steady angle the whole way on that blade, and not raise it up as you come to the end. Hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully, if you have noticed, if you're sharpening knives in the piece up here around the tip, you're not getting it very sharp, or you're getting that sharper than any place else, but your tip is getting ground away, that's why. That's exactly what you're doing wrong. So again, put it right there, all the way up. All the way up, keeping that knife at the same angle the whole way. Then flip it to the other side. And doing the same exact thing. Five, 6, 7, 8 times, however many. The more dull it is, the more times you're going to have to do it. Sometimes your knife is really dull and you're just going to have to do some work. You're going to have to put some elbow grease into it. Now here's the thing, another thing is, you are not trying to grind that knife blade into oblivion. You don't have to on it. You don't have to do that. Gentle force. You want to put a little bit of pressure on it, especially when you're just first starting with the lower grits. Now, the higher that grit goes, the less force you're going to have, and the more you're just going to want to grind, just lay it across there. Now, but when you're lower grits and you're really trying to form the edge, that's when you've got to put a little bit more pressure to take that metal away. You got to put a little bit more pressure. And the higher that grit goes, the less pressure, because now you're just finishing it off. You're just polishing it. The edge is already formed. Now you're just starting to sharpen that edge. The first few steps is taking that mountain, or that hill I should say, and putting it back to a peak. The next few steps are starting to finish that peak and get it refined and get it to a razor's point. All right, so once you do it on the lower grit side, you're going to take it and flip it over to the higher grit side and do the same exact thing. I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to do that right there. Flip it over to the other side. Same exact thing. Now, I can already tell the difference. Now, once I've done that, I'm either going to take my ceramic rod or I'm going to take my honing rod, and I'm going to hone that edge. I'm going to really get that thing. I'm going to do every step that I can to make this knife as razor sharp as I can get it. Now I'm going to strop it and go backwards. and that's what you'll get. It's a razor's edge. I mean, just razor sharp, slice right through paper. The tip, the back end, wherever, it's going to be the same as long as you keep the angle the same. Don't raise your arms and lower your arms as you go. Keep that the same all the way through. Practice. You are going to have to practice. It is not easy. When I first started sharpening knives, the first year and a half I sharpened knives, I was horrible at it. I mean, I was just horrible. I was not good at it. I could get an edge on it, but I could not make them razor sharp, and I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. It takes time and practice like anything else. You're gonna figure it out though. You will get it with practice. Now, some of you might be savants at it, and you're good. You're good to go right off from the very beginning. You take off and you can put an edge on that sucker. No, I'm not talking to you. I mean, I'm talking to you, obviously. We're having a conversation. But I'm not trying to impress upon you these things. You're not going to have any problems. The people who already know how to sharpen an edge and put a razor's edge on it, you already know. I'm not trying to teach you anything that you don't already know. This is for the people who have struggled or are just now starting to learn to sharpen. I'm trying to give you the basics, but I'm not trying to just show you how to do it. I want you to understand the fundamentals behind why you do things certain ways, why you don't do certain things, so that you can understand what you're doing wrong raising your arm. Oh, now I understand what I'm doing and why that's happening or this is happening. I never realized that before. It was never nobody ever pointed those things out to me. So it's those little fundamentals. Really quick, I want to talk about one of my favorite ways to sharpen is a whetstone. I love whetstones. Whetstones are the same. They have a coarse grit side and a fine grit side. The difference with whetstones is, what are they called? Whetstones. So you have to soak them in water beforehand. Now, I didn't soak this in water. Now, you don't necessarily have to soak them in water. You can just coat them in water, pour water over them, whatever, but you have to use water. Now, I didn't do that, so I'm just going to take some water and pour it on here. Now, there's a reason for this. You ever watch them use, like you ever watch those machining YouTube videos that are awesome? Like they drill stuff and it's just machining videos. And what do they always have to do? They have to have a jet of water always spraying on it, or oil or something, always to keep it cool. But also you want to take metal away, but you don't want to tear metal away and stuff like that. And with it being wet and stuff, and it helps that process to be more smooth and efficient, and also at the same time keeping it cool and different things like that. But it just helps it be more effective at what it does. When you're doing this, it's the same exact thing. Now I want to do this. I'm going to show you all a little trick that I had to learn. This will teach you if you are raising your arm or lowering your arm, or if you're not going the same pattern the whole way or something like that. Take a marker. And your knife. All right, you're going to see the edge right there. Take your marker and lay it on that edge and run it right down that edge. Do it on both sides. Now you're going to have a blue mark all the way up and down your knife. Why am I doing that? Chris, why do I want to take a marker to my knife? Well, it's real simple. Now I can take my knife and I can run it across this the same exact way. I'm going the same degree. I'm not raising it, I'm not lowering it, I'm going back and forth on it the same way. You wanna say hi? Say hi. Say how y'all doing. All right, buddy. Go watch Mickey Mouse. It is what it is, guys. my job is never done, even when I'm making videos. But so I'm going to do this at the same angle. Now what's going to happen is when I raise that edge up, I'm going to see any place where there's still blue, I missed. Now if I'm going even along there, what's going to happen is I've just taken that blue completely off. That blue is gone because I got a smooth pattern and I got it even across the entire edge. That will teach you and help you to learn and understand what you're doing wrong. If you where along that motion you're messing up. If you're having the blue stay up here, that means you are lowering your arm here, or you are raising your tip up too fast, or something like that, and you're missing a section right here. Whatever. But it will teach you to be more efficient at keeping that flat motion all the way. And that's why I say take a marker. Hold on, buddy. Hold on. Mickey Mouse is off? Guys, I apologize. 1 second. I apologize. Oh, look, buddy, it's okay. Here we go. There we go. I apologize, guys. I know that's not very professional and stuff, but it is what it is. So that's what you want to do. That's why I say take a marker when you're new and mark your edges, and it will help you. Same thing on going the back side on your pocket knife. Take it at the same angle. Run it right over there. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to strop that edge. That was me. Okay, I might have just taken the edge off of this thing. Oh, it's just the paper. Yeah, it's just the paper. Oh yeah, this thing is razor sharp. I mean razor sharp. Oh yeah. That's me, trust me. I don't know if it's the paper or me. Cutting paper is not the easiest thing. I mean, this thing is razor sharp. It'll take the hair off of your arm. Oh yeah. That's all you gotta do, guys. That was a horrible example right there, trying to cut paper and I was pushing it and stuff. But that's the thing about it. So that's a, you know, easy way. Now I wanted to show you guys this work sharp belt sharpener right here. If you can afford to get one of these things, I highly recommend it. But I also want to tell you, this is not something that you want to use for normal sharpening of your knives. The reason why, I have a lot of these belts. I have every grit you can imagine. I've got a box right here. This is my most unprofessional video, guys, and I apologize, but it is what it is. I've got my kid in the background going, coughing, watching Mickey Mouse. We've got light issues. Now I've got paper snagging on me. I've got a lot of different belts in here from every grit that you can imagine. Now here's the thing about these things. They are awesome, but they are going to wear your blade out. They are going to take metal off your blade. These things are awesome to use if you are not good at sharpening, if you need the help sharpening. They have the different degrees. So that right there is for kitchen knives, pocket knives. kitchen knives, pocket knives. See how that raises and lowers right here? It goes in and out. Shh, shh. Making a video, buddy. But you can also lay this down so that you can do like axes and machetes and different things like that. This thing is awesome. It really is. But like I said, it's going to wear your knives out. It will take the metal off. These things, unless you really know what you're doing, these things, you know, I only use these when I have a knife that's really, really dull and I don't have time or want to mess with it. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I don't even use this thing because I just don't need it. And I don't want to take that much metal away. I just don't need to. But if you're somebody that struggles with sharpening, if you're somebody that that doesn't know how to sharpen, or if you just got like don't want to deal with sharpening, it's just something that just doesn't interest you. See, I like it. It interests me because it's knives and it's an opportunity for me to play with my knives, mess with my knives, feel like I'm doing something, being part of the process. But it also gives me a time to think. I can sit here and get 5 or 10 knives out and spend 30 minutes sharpening knives and just go away and think about something, whatever I need to think about or do, you know, and just enjoy myself for a few minutes. Some people don't want to do that. Some people don't have the time. Some people don't have the energy. I'm going to tell you right now, this thing is awesome. I'm going to show you. I'm going to turn it on. You stick this thing right there. And you just run it back through there. Oh my gosh, that will put an edge on this sucker quick. You do that 4 or 5 times, and this is a low grit. This is one of the ones that's more finishing than it is the abrasives. This is more of a finishing belt. But sharpening is not that complicated. It is not that hard. I apologize for my horrible example there with the paper. You do have to cutting papers the same exact way. You got to hold your hand exactly right, and I've seen many sharp knives mess up on paper. This is razor blade sharp though, I promise you. But hopefully you understand. If you understand the concept of sharpening and honing an edge, then you'll be okay. You'll be fine. Just practice, 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 and take care of your knives. Maintenance your knives all the time. Every time if you're carrying a pocket knife, at least every 2 to 3 days you should be honing your edge. At least every 2 to 3 days you should be honing that edge. If you go out and you do EDC and you get it and you're cutting boxes and you're cutting paper and you're cutting whatever, then at least every 2 to 3 days you should jerk it out. You should hone that edge with a rod, a ceramic rod, probably on a pocket knife. These for kitchen blades, something like this, a ceramic rod for your pocket knives and stuff, a little bit easier on the edge. Use that every 2 to 3 days. Do that, and if you do, you're going to notice that you don't have to sharpen them as often. But guys, if there's any questions you all have, or if anything that you can add to it, let me know in the comment section. I appreciate it. And here, I want to say this to end this, guys. I appreciate you guys being patient with me on this video. I've tried to make sure that I've never had these type of issues before, but I am the unprofessional dad for a reason. I'm a full-time dad, and my kids come first. And tonight, my kid is up and wide awake, and he's going. And he's been sick for a couple days, so tonight he's in a lively mood. And it is what it is, and I can't fault him for that, but I still want to bring you guys content, and I do enjoy this, so it gives me something to do with my time and a way to feel like I'm engaging with you guys, so I appreciate it. If you got any questions or comments, remember I've got a good video coming up soon. Be watching for it. Guys, until next time, keep your lives full, your knives sharp. This is Chris, the unprofessional dad, and Zachary, the coolest 2-year-old, soon to be 3-year-old that you guys will ever meet, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys. This is Unprofessional Dad out.